and training. Well, how to breathe, what to do when you're breathing, and how to incorporate that into your exercise. So, pretty much the first thing we're going to chat about is who should be aware of their breathing, and who do you guys think? Pretty much absolutely everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're in the, whatever phase you're in your life, everybody should be worried about how they're breathing whilst they're exercising. So that's the simple answer. But it's important to be thinking about your breathing when you are exercising for not only maintaining healthy pelvic floor for anyone and everyone, but also obviously especially for pre, postnatal, overactive or underactive pelvic floors, and just in general to execute your reps and sets and exercise movements correctly. So we're going to touch base just on a couple of little different things today, do a little bit of couple of workshops to go through and give you a good understanding. So feel free to, if you have a mat or somewhere on the floor, you can go through some movements with me as well. So pretty much, we're going to talk about the different types of breathing. So starting off with, we have 360-degree breathing and the connection breath, which you use quite often, obviously, together. And then also we have Valsalva breathing, which we're going to touch on what each of those are, and then break them up into their separate ones as well. So let's get into it. So 360-degree breathing, what is it? And I guess, no, we didn't make that up, but what it is it's not just breathing into your chest. So you're not just inhale up here and exhale out. 360-degree breathing is when you're inhaling all the way into your diaphragm and your entire torso by expanding front and back. So I will do some demos in a second about this, but just explaining what they are. Then you have your connection breath. Now this is using connection with your exertion through exercise and by contracting your pelvic floor as well. Pelvic floor, if you don't know, is down here, and that's a diamond looking like shape that contracts and releases. So we're going to use connection breath and 360-degree breathing together for pretty much everything we always do in all of our movements and all of our exercises. And also, it's a really good habit to get into for daily life as well. So pretty much, we're going to just do a quick little workshop now. So of these two ones here, if I can just move this down so you can see me. So pretty much what we've got is you're going to come down to your floor, and you're going to be laying on your back, or you can be seated as well. So you can be either upright or kneeling, but I'm going to show you the demonstration on the ground. So this one here, you're coming down, and what you're going to do is we're just going to start by filling up the whole entire belly. Now we're going to start with our 360-degree breathing here. We'll just get into a bit better position. So we're going to do a big inhale and fill up the entire belly. Now if you had a little toy on here, you would like to think that that was going up as you fill up that belly. So big inhale, filling up the whole torso around the back of the ribs, and then exhale, coming down. Inhale, and exhale, coming down. Alright, so now we're going to add in here a little bit of a pelvic tilt, and we're going to use that pelvic floor contraction. So as we inhale, filling up, the pelvic floor is not contracted here, alright? It is nice and relaxed, and the belly's full. As we exhale, we are going to zip and pull, my favourite word, you all know that, as contract our pelvic floor, and exhale out as we tilt the pelvis back. So inhale, fill up, and exhale, tilt that pelvis back. Exhale, draw up along through your spine, not just in the top part of your belly. Inhale, fill up. Exhale, tilt, contract, back. Inhale, fill up. Exhale, tilt, and contract through that pelvic floor. Now there are a couple of ways to go about thinking about contracting your pelvic floor. One of them, a good little analogy that you can use is that you are sucking up through a straw, and that's how you need to pull your pelvic floor from the diamond, close it up. As you exhale, that's you pushing out through that straw, contracting through your spine to get that pelvic floor up. Now, if you're unsure about your pelvic floor and if you're contracting it correctly, it can be really tricky, so don't think, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't do it. Definitely come to us, or we can help you out and put you in the right direction for that as well. So we're going to advance that one a little bit now. So we're going to actually go into a glute bridge. So we're just in our pelvic tilt. So we're going to go into a glute bridge. So we're going to inhale and fill out that belly, relax the pelvic floor, and as we exhale, squeeze the glutes up. And then inhale down. And as we exhale, squeeze the glutes up, pulling through that pelvic floor. Beautiful. So that's just a couple little demos of how the connection and the pelvic floor and everything work together. I'm going to flip over now onto a bird dog. So we're going to be here, and the same thing, we're going to go into what we would do. So we're on all fours, and we're going to start by inhaling, relaxing. And as I exhale, I'm going to take it out. And then I'm going to inhale, and then I'm going to take it out. Pulling in and drawing through my pelvic floor. And back down. So exhale, inhale, and then repeating through. That's just a couple little movements that you can do to just get that rhythm going with your breathing happening. Now I'm going to walk you through some actual exercises that we do quite regularly and that you guys will probably want to run through as well. So first off, we're going to start with a bit of a squat. So classic example now, if you watched the tempo live we did a couple of weeks ago, that one was explaining on how we do tempo on eccentric contraction and concentric contraction, lengthening and shortening phases. Breathing is kind of similar. So when we go down, we want to inhale for a squat. So we're going to inhale, allow space, relax that pelvic floor. On our exhale, so on the way up, we're going to exhale, pulling through. So from the side, we're going to inhale, allow space. As we exhale, we're going to push the floor away. We're going to draw up through our pelvic floor and have a nice solid contraction. So by doing that, you're allowing that pelvic floor to contract and release and support the whole area of the body, as well as supporting obviously your pelvic floor, which is going to help strengthen it. One main tip that I do want to focus on as well is it's just as important to contract your pelvic floor as it is to relax and release the muscle. So it's just like any other muscle. Another one we can think of is here, if you're going into a shoulder press, the same thing. So we're here, we're going to do a big exhale as we press up. Now as I press up, I'm also going to draw up through my pelvic floor, contract and press up. So a big up, inhale down, back down. Now it's all well and good to inhale, but if you're not actually relaxing that pelvic floor, then you've just constantly kept it on. So big exhale, and inhale back down. So you almost want to allow that belly to expand back out. Now my belly will definitely expand back out here, so we're going to go exhale, and inhale, back down. Alrighty? That's just a couple examples. Another one I'll show you, because it is quite tricky, is our hinge. So if we're going into an RDL, we're going to inhale on the way down as we lengthen those glutes, so for that eccentric contraction. So we're going to go down, we're going to inhale, get to the bottom, and we're going to exhale, squeeze glute. Once again, while I'm squeezing and exhaling, I'm drawing up through my pelvic floor as well. But also, inhale, release and relax. Down, and exhale, pulling through. So just a couple of examples that you can run through and have a little workshop on yourself. But pretty much, this is something that it gets so tricky to just remember to do, because we're counting reps, sometimes counting tempo, sometimes counting quarter reps. So I understand it gets tricky, but it is so important for your lifts and your movements to be moving through that as well with your breathing. Awesome. So the next one, which gets a little bit tricky and can be confusing for a lot of people as well, is Valsalva breathing or Valsalva maneuver. So it's a technique. It is used when we do start to do some nice heavy lifts, when we start to load up that bar, especially when we're putting pressure on the back. When we're doing a deadlift, we're putting extra pressure on the posterior chain, and also a big chest press. So pretty much your three key here are your big lift movements. It can be used in other movements at certain times as well, depending on your skills, your level and your ability, and how much you can actually put out. So Valsalva is pretty much inhaling, not just in your chest, but all the way into your 360-degree breathing. So all the way into your stomach and around your torso through your ribs. So you want to act as if you are trying to put up a big barricade around your whole entire torso, not just your front area. So a lot of the time people will just inhale, yep, I've tensed my core, I'm good, I'm ready to go and squat down and still have that really weak collapsed back. And they like a sponge rather than a rigid. So what we want to do is when we inhale, you want to think as if like someone is about to go bang and punch you in the stomach. And if I was to do that to you now, I can guarantee you, if I was imagining someone was going to come and hit me in the stomach, I would be like, and tense up. But my mouth can be open and I'm still holding my breath through my airways here. So if someone's going to hit me, my whole entire core is supported, not just the front here. Alrighty, so the way this works, we do a big inhale, and you want to close it off, not with your mouth as such, because then you're putting so much pressure in the front of your face. You want to close it off with your airway here. So you can literally try this one without actually closing your mouth. So inhale, and then close it off, and you'll feel this big, nice tension around your core. So what we're going to do is, if we were doing a heavy load or had a barbell on here, we could do our big inhale at the start of the rep before we go down. So this is where it gets tricky. We're going to inhale, hold, I can't talk and hold at the same time, and then come down, and then all the way up before you would exhale. So without talking, it would look like big inhale at the end of the rep. So you don't let that breath out until you have completed the entire rep. So it's no shortcutting and then pushing up as you come up. It's an inhale at the end. So this is one that people can get quite puffed with, and I'll explain some reasons why people shouldn't do this one, or different people that maybe shouldn't attempt to do this one just yet. But pretty much there's a little trick that you can do to help you hold that breath and support it in the right way. So if you think putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth, so inhale, and then put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and complete your rep, you will feel that much more around your core and your ribs in your back as well. So not just trying to go like so. So you want to be a big inhale. Now obviously we're not going to do that just for a normal squat. This is when I'm talking load up on the barbell or in a deadlift. So deadlift is a little different. Obviously we're here. We're going to start the breath hold before we lift. So we're here, big inhale, and release once you complete the entire rep. Let me show you that one again. So we're here, big inhale, up, release the breath. Because if I was to release the breath halfway through that lift, on a very heavy lift when I come up here, and then I'm going to try and lower that, I've collapsed my whole entire posterior chain when I could have had that nice support through the core. Alrighty, so that's just a bit about your lifts and that. But pretty much it involves taking that 360-degree breathing in, supporting that core, holding that breath but not through in your mouth, through your windpipe, by popping your roof, like your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and controlling through the entire rep, that hold, and then that release. Now, pretty much, there's a couple of things I want to discuss with this one, because there's a couple of people who should and shouldn't do it. Obviously, I wasn't doing that 100% accurate today as well because I was talking, but in saying that, one of the main group of people that shouldn't do any type of breath hold while they're exercising or in general is if you are pregnant. This is something that you don't want to add extra downward pressure on that pelvic floor. So it's not advised to do when you're pregnant at any stage, no matter like trimester 1, 2 or 3. You really want to be doing your connection breath the entire time. So you really want to be doing 360-degree breathing and connection breath, which is the inhale and the exhale through the movement. So a squat without Valsalva, back to normal would be inhale and exhale up. Alrighty? So that is what you want to do if you are pregnant. And also, if you get to a stage at any point in your workout or your training that you find you have to hold your breath to be able to max out that rep or that load that's on the bar, then it's telling you it's time to either cut back the amount of reps or the load on the bar, because it's getting too heavy for you to maintain a 360-degree breathing and connection breath technique. The other little demographic or people that it's not recommended to be doing this quite often is anyone with an overactive, yes, that exists, or an underactive pelvic floor. So once again, this is something that you don't want to be doing all the time, especially if you have these issues or this like trouble, because you want to really focus on relaxing and contracting that pelvic floor through that inhale, exhale, exertion and release. So that's another little thing. Also, anyone postnatal, depending on your recovery, your time, how everything went with birth and everything else that comes after, depending on that and how that's gone so far, make sure you do contact your health professional if you're having issues, but when you do get your checkup, just talk about it as well. And there will be a time and a place when you can get back to doing that, but it's not that 6 weeks straight away when you haven't rebuilt that foundation of your pelvic floor just yet. So that's a little bit of an insight into that one with the Valsalva breathing. And the lucky last one that I will mention as well, and we do have a couple girls that this can happen to as well, is if you have a history of any kind of like getting lightheaded or fainting or dizziness, I don't recommend doing Valsalva all the time or in all your lifts especially. And if you are doing them, be very mindful of how you're executing them and just be aware that, you know, you might not be able to perform that. You may have to keep going with your 360 and connection breath. All dependent on the individual, obviously, but that is pretty much the difference between doing your 360-degree breathing, your connection breath in a hole, and then your Valsalva, who shouldn't, and how to do your connection breath throughout. So one last thing to sign off with. Obviously, we're going to go with connection breath and 360-degree majority of the time. Pretty much everybody always going to have that with your exercises, especially your accessory exercises, which are like your shoulder presses, your A, B, so your B's and your C exercises in your programs, or your group fitness classes is definitely when you're going to be using that 360-degree and connection breath. So that is inhale and exhale exertion, or for instance, shoulder press, exhale, up, inhale, back down. So if you would like more education around this, just ask us in your sessions for sure. But otherwise, Valsalva's for those big heavy lifts if you weren't in that list of other little contradictions in there as well. But I hope that helps, girls, and drop any comments or messages you guys have below, and happy Tuesday!